Tough day for Fani. Poor Fani, back in the hot seat. Oh, we can make a lot of jokes. We won't. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Trish Regan. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you hit that bell. Make sure you comment. We are live, so you can actually comment live in real time right here, right now. And I see it all. I see it, so be careful, okay? Anyway, Fani Willis in the hot seat. One other thing, quick little thing I want to mention. If you have not already subscribed to 76research.com, do me that favor. Make sure you subscribe to 76. We'll talk about it a little bit later in this show. But 76research.com, because, navigating these markets can be a little challenging, shall we say, these days. Fani Willis in the hot seat. So Fani Willis, things were kind of going okay. Well, now there's a little bit of bad news for you see poor Fani, because it seems as though maybe she should never have been functioning as the district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, to begin with. Right? That's what's at issue. So they just set a date, ladies and gentlemen. This is the local report. Actually, not a local report. This is CNN. And you can see CNN has its own spin. CNN, a special little spin entirely, trying to say that somehow this is not going to matter because it's going to happen past Election Day. Let me just say, the case is set for October. So it's going to be front and center on every single person's mind, every voters' mind. And what are they going to remember? Oh, good old Fani Willis, who had that thing with Nathan Wade and was seemingly, possibly, maybe benefiting in some way, shape, or form. Again, careful with the jokes. But the reality on this one, it seems, and this is what it's going to be up to the Trump team to have to prove, is that Fani Willis may have benefited financially from this arrangement. You see, Nathan Wade was, it seems, her boyfriend. Now, how do we know that? We know that because there were some 30,000 text messages going back and forth between the two of them before he even got the gig. Little suspicious, right? So before he gets the gig, they're in constant communicado, and then he's going over to her apartment, her condo, whatever. This is all while he's married, by the way. We know about this because the ex-wife... The ex-wife was a little perturbed and had a lot of questions as to where her family's finances were situated because, you see, he had this little thing going on the side. And the little thing going on the side apparently started before Fani actually hired him. Now, if I am the Trump attorney, you know what I want to try and prove here? I want to figure out just exactly whether or not there was any benefit outside of the cruises and the dinners for Fani Willis to hiring Nathan Wade. In other words, was there any kind of kickback thing going on? I'm just asking, right? It's hard for us to know, in part because apparently everything was done in cash. And don't you dare question it. No way, Jose. You're not allowed to say, well, why is there no record of anything? Why are there no receipts? Fani's dad, a former Black Panther turned lawyer, tried to explain that. You see, on the stand down in Fulton County, Georgia, when this all first came around, let's listen to him. Don't ask about the cash because...
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Council.
When your daughter moved or left the house that she owned, did she say anything to you about having a large savings of cash?
Oh, no, no. See... Maybe, excuse me, and Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay? But it's a black thing, okay? I was trained, and most black folks, they hide cash or they keep cash. And I was trained, you always keep some cash because I've been places, and just because of the color of my skin, for example, I took a fellowship at Harvard when my daughter was just if I might, Your Honor, when I was just, she was just,
Excuse me? All right, you know what? A lot of people keep cash around. Cash is kind of handy to have now and then. Less so these days than maybe years before. My father used to say to me, I remember we were kids in New Hampshire, we'd go to Boston for the day, and he'd always say, well, make sure you have some cash, right? Because it was back in the days of payphones. You needed to have a few quarters on hand. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. Okay. I'm not buying it. Not for 2 seconds. I think if anybody's moving around cash in the gigantic sums to which they're talking about, there's something else going on. All right. There's gotta be. I mean, it's my estimation. And this is what I would be trying to figure out right now. We're talking forensic accounting from the Trump team. So this is going to court in October, okay, right before the November election. So the deal is they don't get this thing thrown out. That's what should have happened. Frankly, I mean, honestly, that's what should have happened, because the Trump team, in my estimation, did not fully do their job. And I know we want to pick on the judge, et cetera, but they should have done a better job trying to prove this out, this whole theory that somehow she was benefiting financially, because then they could have actually gotten her tossed and her entire office tossed, and therefore the case tossed. So that was sort of the what they were going for. That was the brass ring, and they completely missed it. But they have a second opportunity because, again, the appeal is happening. And today the date was set. So watch out for October. Fani Willis, increasingly now in trouble. Now, what's interesting is that they're trying to say, oh, no. This is a relationship that started in the workplace, which is bad enough, right, in and of itself, but actually would differ in that you can't make the exact connection that somehow she was benefiting from him getting this salary. He was making $600,000 plus dollars, right? How much of that might have been, I'm just asking the question, go into Fani? These are questions that they need to probe. This is why they need their hands on her financial records and his financial records, which I imagine they can get thanks to the ex-wife. Anyway, she promised us she wasn't going to do any of this funny business, right? This was not going to happen. No way. That's not me, Fani Willis. She sat down with a local reporter there in Fulton County, Georgia, while she was running for district attorney and had this to say.
Because they deserve a DA that won't have sex with his employees. Because they deserve a DA that won't put money in their own pocket when it should go to benefit children. Because we deserve better.
Yeah, you know what? The Fulton County people, taxpayers, do deserve better, which is why they didn't deserve whatever happened with you hiring the boyfriend, which we're supposed to believe just happened on the job, right? Nathan Wade actually sat down with Good Morning America, ABC News, to explain that this is just something that blossomed, love's in the air. Apparently when you go after Trump, Lisa, Paige, Carter, remember Lisa and Carter, that little duo? Well, this is like the Fulton County equivalent, according to Nathan Wade. Let's listen.
Workplace romances are as American as apple pie. It happens to everyone.
Oh my gosh. All right. I've seen enough. Thank you very much. Okay. He wants us to normalize all this. We're going to normalize this behavior. It's all just cool. It's all dandy. It's very American to do this sort of thing, according to Nathan Wade. But here's the problem. Again, it goes back to not whether or not it happened on the job, but whether it happened before, because I think then you actually really, if it happened on the job, you can still actually make a case, I suspect, but it might even be worse if she hired him with the intention of benefiting financially. Now, these are the questions that are coming up, and they are being asked, and she is going to have to sit in this trial. There is an appeal going on, and she will have to testify. Meanwhile, Georgia Republicans are investigating her, but she's like, no, I won't do any of this. I won't have any part in it. You remember, I've shown you this clip before. She is outside the Georgia courthouse, basically, giving a big giant FU to the entire legal system because it only applies to one side, apparently.
Will you appear before a Georgia Senate committee without a subpoena?
Well, first of all, I don't even think they have the authority to subpoena me, but they need to learn the law.
So will you appear, yes or no?
I will not appear to anything that is unlawful. And I have not broken the law in any way. I said it, I'll say it amongst these leaders. I'm sorry folks get pissed off that everybody gets treated evenly.
All right. I think she answered that very well.
Good luck. Good luck, Fani. We are going to be watching and waiting. Put it that way. I don't think it's good news for this woman. Anyway, also not very good news for Merrick Garland, who's on Capitol Hill right now, and he's sort of scrambling here because he's got the House Judiciary Committee led by Jim Jordan going after him tooth and nail, and he's firing back with a line of attack, frankly, that sounds a lot like what we were hearing from Maxine Waters. In other words, if you guys don't buy this, then you're part of the problem. You're all a bunch of conspiracy theorists if you think that we had anything at all to do with Fani Willis and the rest of them, right? Letitia James and Alvin Bragg. But it's a logical question to be asking. When the number 3 at the DOJ suddenly gets a job with Alvin Bragg to help prosecute that case, which just found Trump guilty on 34 counts, right? These are logical questions, and they're fair to ask, especially when you hold a trial in a place where you know you're not going to get a fair jury, for goodness sakes. I mean, all of 3 people voted for Donald Trump in New York City, and I was one of them. That was in 2016. I was smart enough to move by 2020. So here's the reality. Here's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. You have a very biased jury. You had a very biased judge who gave them a huge scope. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I'm not a legal scholar, but it's a little bizarre when they go in on a misdemeanor and they somehow turn it into a felony and they say, hey, pick any of the above, A, B, or C. You don't have to be unanimous, the judge said, in what you actually think he may have done. You just have to be unanimous in that you think he did something. So there you go. And now they're threatening him with jail, which, by the way, will backfire. Just look at all the money he has raised. $200 million in the month of May alone. I mean, these are all-time records because everybody's coming out in force. Whether or not that translates to a win in November, I think there's a lot of time between now and then. It's all the more important that you focus, that you pay attention. You understand what's really going on in the news. Subscribe to the channel, right? Hit like, share it with your friends. Be here every day. We are live every single day. But Merrick Garland is trying to say, you know what? If you don't buy this, then you're part of the problem. And how dare you suggest that we had anything at all to do with Fani and Merrick Garland is suggesting, how dare you with Fani and with Alvin. I keep wanting to say Alvin and the Chipmunks. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. And of course, you know, Jack Smith on top there with, and Letitia with the, come on. I mean, $500 million fine in that bail. Let's listen to Merrick Garland with Matt Gaetz.
Communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump, you can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fani Willis' office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that. The question is whether or not you will provide all of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
You make a request. We'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory, that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's...
And then somehow they can't be produced. And he kind of like deferred away from this. And it keeps going back to, well, you're the conspiracy theorist because you think we might be colluding in some way and we couldn't possibly ever do that. Yeah, no, that would never, ever happen. Just like, you know, that little meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac that time. They weren't possibly ever, they could not possibly be talking about Hillary Clinton and whether or not she was going to get charged in the whole server scandal. No, they were just talking about their grandkids. Kind of like, you know, Haley Biden and Joe Biden just had a little visit the other day just to commiserate on poor Beau's passing. I'm sorry, but you know what? The American people, they're not dumb. And there does seem to be a little bit too much of a coincidence going on. I mean, look, the reality is all of these DAs have to get elected to their positions, right? So they become extremely political positions, which is part of the problem here. Let's be honest, right? Like these are political animals. And how do they run? They, in the case of Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and of course, Fani Willis, based on, I'm going to go get Trump. I mean, Alvin Bragg said it in 2021. He said, you should elect me because I have the most experience in going after Trump. I helped sue him 100 times related to immigration issues. Letitia James, I've played you the clip. I mean, over and over and over again, this woman would tell us, boom, you know, she was going to get Trump, get Trump, get Trump. This was their MO. So there was a political coordination of some sort. The money that was coming in, the donors that were backing them wanted them to do this. You don't think that comes from up high? Come on. All right. So Merrick Garland, you're in the hot seat. And you're trying to turn the tables onto themselves, saying, you guys are all crazy and you're all conspiracy theorists and you are the problem. I mean, it got really dicey and you said some really ugly things. Point being, like, you're on their side or you're not on their side. And if you are part of the 75 million that may have voted for Trump, if you actually think that MAGA has some good ideas about American policy, vis-a-vis the economy, the border, etc., then you are the problem. You need to watch out. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm happy to partner with Americans for Prosperity, because they're looking out for us in this way. You know, people that care about policy are people that I like, because I'm kind of a policy wonk. Actually, we have one of their experts talking about immigration coming up on the show on Friday. Americansforprosperity.org. They care about immigration. They care about the economy. They care about the border. I mean, all of this stuff really matters right now. So I encourage you to go subscribe to their email, go check them out. Again, we have one of their experts, policy experts, coming on Friday. So we'll talk with them a little bit more about the immigration challenges. But they are challenges, right? When you look at immigration right now and you consider the crazy numbers that we're dealing with, news, and I'm going to get to this in a moment, of Joe Biden actually allowing the asylum of more than 300,000 people, these are some bad headlines. And Joe Biden has to contend with the negativity surrounding these massive immigration numbers, which really most people, most ordinary Americans, left or right, are not really okay with. I mean, when you go down the middle, right, and you talk to your independents, they don't love this. So Joe Biden is scrambling. He's trying to figure out, okay, what do I do? Especially in light of, I got a big debate coming up. I got a big darn debate. What am I going to say when Donald Trump hits me in that debate with the immigration challenges that we are facing right now? What am I going to say? Oh, I'm going to just blame the Republicans, right? I'll just say it's all their fault. Their fault entirely. They should have handled this. They should have dealt with this. I tried to do everything I could, even though, let me preface this by pointing out that Joe Biden had no intention of controlling the border, not from the get-go. I mean, we can go back to the debate in 2020. Remember this? The Democrat debate, the one where Kamala Harris went up one side and down the other, and somehow they're still friends. That's politics for you. Anyway, Joe Biden was there on stage and had to say this about immigration. Watch.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
Come one, come all. That's what he said. Those are his own words, okay? That's Joe Biden saying, come on, everybody come on in. Well, they came. And they came. And you have people coming into the country in spades. I mean, some of the estimates are between 8 and 11 million. My gosh. Take a look at these numbers. I want to share with you some graphics from the New York Post. We also have Daily Mail reporting on this. Let me just show you these numbers, which are truly, truly startling, you guys, because this is a graphic that's showing 149,000 people last year. Actually, I believe, in 2022, we're actually just told, you know what, you're free to go. You're free to go, because we are so inundated. As long as you haven't committed any crimes in the time that you're here, we're going to give you a pass, because we can't actually deal with this. In sum, you're looking at an administration that has closed 350,000 plus asylum cases that have been filed by migrants since the year 2022. I mean, this is startling. This is amazing. This is a problem. It just is a problem. And so Joe Biden, realizing this, knowing that Trump is going to hit him with this, knowing that this is a vulnerability, because everyday Americans are not okay with having a completely open society where you just come in and you go as you please, especially considering the drain, frankly, on the welfare system of all these communities that are experiencing this. Well, he decided today he was going to come out with a new move. He signed some kind of executive order, and it closes the border with Mexico when the crossings start to surge, which would be, like right about now. Here he is explaining the deal.
My very first day as president, I introduced a comprehensive immigration reform plan to fix our broken system, secure our border, provide a pathway for citizenship for dreamers, and a lot more. And I'm still fighting to get that done.
Okay, so he wants the pathway to citizenship still, but he also wants to close the border in the meantime, because, there's this sort of thing hanging over his head with Donald Trump, who, by the way, is all in, pouncing on him today. Moments ago, came out with a statement that I want to share with you. Here we go, Donald Trump on
Joe
Biden's immigration
Biden, the
plan.
worst president in the history of our country by far, has totally surrendered our southern border. His weakness and extremism have resulted in a border invasion like we have never seen before. Other countries have emptied out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental institutions and sent us drug dealers, human traffickers, and terrorists. Millions of people have poured into our country, and now, after nearly 4 years of his failed, weak leadership, pathetic leadership, Crooked Joe Biden is pretending to finally do something about the border, but in fact, it's all about show because he knows we have a debate coming up in 3 weeks. The truth is that Joe Biden's executive order won't stop the invasion. It's weak and it's pathetic. It will actually make the invasion worse. Millions of people a year will continue to pour across our border and be released into our country. And we recently learned Biden is secretly granting mass amnesty to hundreds of thousands of these illegal aliens, along with welfare, government benefits, work permits, and jobs. He's not doing that, however, for our veterans. He's not doing that for our homeless. He's giving illegal aliens far more than our veterans get, far more than our homeless get. Many of the left are even pushing for illegal aliens to vote in our elections, which is what this is all about. That's why they're allowing up to 20 million people since he took office. When I was president, we built over 500 miles of border wall, stopped the flood of criminals, and we had the safest border in the history of our country. We need to secure our border once again. We need to secure our border once and for all. Crooked Joe will never get the job done. He doesn't want to get the job done. It's just words and misinformation, because he could have done it very easily. All he had to do is say, close the border. That's the power of the presidency. But when I'm elected, it will be my top priority.
So it's amazing, right? He told us all along he didn't have any power to do anything. And now suddenly Joe Biden is finding the power to close the border when the crossings surge, as I said, right ahead of the debate. So, we think alike, I guess, me and the big guy. Anyway, the other big guy, the real one, right? Because that could be misinterpreted. Anyway, Donald Trump coming out again just moments ago, calling out Biden for what it's worth. Like, where have you been? I mean, it's such a politicized move. Think about it. You've got the debate coming up. There's a new report saying you're providing amnesty to 350,000 plus people. You've got millions pouring in. You're on record saying, come one, come all. Well, now you get yourself a little problem because people see the economy and immigration as the two biggest issues confronting us right now. And you know what? It's about to get worse. It's about to get worse. And this has nothing to do with Joe or with Trump and everything to do with who Mexico just announced is going to be their new leader. The new president of Mexico just elected a woman named Claudia Sheinbaum. Now, Claudia Sheinbaum, I mean, it's sort of amazing, right? Because it's Mexico and they elected a woman and a Jewish woman at that. So most of the headlines are going on and on about how great this is, how enlightened Mexico is. Let me just tell you, Claudia Sheinbaum is a problem for the Mexico economy and therefore for us, right? Because we share a border with Mexico. And this is a woman who's sponsored by the WEF, World Economic Forum. They love her. They love her over there. We'll get to that in a second, and I'll tell you why they love her. But she's somebody who thinks like them, right? Super duper lefty. She's given out all kinds of freebies to everybody in Mexico. They're calling her the FDR, maybe, of Mexico. This is what she's promising. She's following in Obrador's footsteps and then some. So while he was conservative on energy and believed in nat gas and drilling, et cetera, she's actually a scientist by background, a big believer in green energy, the WEF sponsorship, et cetera. So she's all about environmental stuff. On top of that, she's all about this redistribution of wealth and all about these sort of social issues like gender stuff, et cetera, which we will also get into momentarily. But I just want to give you the headline that the peso has been tumbling like immediately on the news that she was elected. It fell some 3%. You had the stock market there in Mexico tumbling on news that Claudia was elected. Why? Because people recognize that if you have a really lefty society where, by the way, the president actually has said that she believes in porous borders, then you're going to have a problem vis-a-vis the United States, right? How are we going to conduct trade with them? How are we going to manage this border situation? And you wonder if Joe Biden, coming out one day after Mexico elects this woman who believes in a porous border system, if it has anything to do with that. Now, he did go online on Twitter and wished her well and said, congratulations to Claudia Sheinbaum, et cetera, new president of Mexico. But he's got to be sitting there going, wow, all right, if it's bad now, it's going to get worse because she is a big believer in porous borders, which means she's going to do nothing, literally zip, zero, nada. A little Spanish reference there, to do anything to actually address the border problem. And unless he's willing to play tough, like, Trump was, where he'd say, you know what, you're not going to get that deal. I'm going to take away that trade deal because you're not doing enough to actually secure the border. We want you to pay for it. She's not going to have any part of that. So that means the poorest border president in Mexico is actually going to increase the problem that the United States and the border states are facing right now. When I say she's really lefty and she's really liberal, I just want to point this out. When she became mayor of Mexico City, Claudia Sheinbaum's first thing, first order of business, was to make sure that she had gender neutral uniforms for all the students in school. You see, if you go to public school in Mexico, you have to wear a uniform. And she said, and I quote, something about how the days of girls wearing skirts and boys wearing pants are over. Here we go. Children who attend. Oh, and the World Economic Forum was so proud of her. They ran a whole special story on it. Children who attend state-run schools in Mexico City will no longer have to abide by gender-specific dress code for their school uniforms, government officials announced on Monday. This would have been in 2019 when she was elected. So she is the new left-wing mayor that was coming into Mexico City at the time, announced a new gender-neutral uniform policy during a press conference at a local school in the city. Quote, "The era when girls had to wear skirt and boys had to wear trousers has been left behind. I think that's passed into history. Boys can wear skirts if they want, and girls can wear pants if they want. The new policy will take effect immediately." This was a Reuters report that got posted on the World Economic Forum website. This is according to the Mexican Education Ministry, later said in a tweet. And somehow she wound up president. Okay, so Joe Biden couldn't move fast enough on the immigration front. Now could he? Quick shout out to one of our great sponsors over at American Heart for Gold. Trish Loves Gold is the URL that you need to remember, everyone. As we look at the chaos that's going on in the world and we look at even sort of the peso versus the dollar, the peso had been actually holding up miraculously via the dollar, had been doing better than some currencies because the dollar has actually been relatively strong only because we are the prettiest girl at the dance. It's not a group of lookers. Anyway, gold is one of the things that people are turning to all over the world. Central banks all over the world. And so I encourage you to look at it as part of a well-diversified portfolio. I'm not your financial advisor, although some of you subscribe to 76 Research, and we have a lot of great ideas for you there. But one of the ideas that we do include a lot is gold. Gold and silver, actually, because precious metals are something to keep an eye on in terms of helping to, balance out, if you would, a portfolio. I encourage you to look at it. And when you do, call my friends over at American Heart for Gold. There's a special offer. Friends of the show can get up to $15,000 in free silver when you sign up with them. So $15,000 potentially in free silver with one of their deals if you call 1-844-495-1115 and you use my name, or you can text my name, Trish, to 65532, or go to that Trish Loves Gold, which I get a kick out of. That URL, Trish Loves Gold. You can't forget it, right? .com. Go check that out. Look at getting up to $15,000 in free silver. I think it's an important part of a well-diversified portfolio. I really do mean that. All right, more news to get to right now. The WNBA is sure in hot water. They just can't seem to figure this one out. They've stepped into a mess, albeit a mess that's helped them in terms of their popularity, in terms of people actually knowing who they are. I can't tell you that I ever watched a WNBA game or play or anything until now. Because you see, Caitlin Clark came on the scene, and she's a dynamite player. She's broken every single record, even for the men's rookies. Nobody's actually come close to her. So she's pretty amazing. And some people don't like that, interestingly enough. I want to show you a play that happened in the game the other night where this one other player by the name of Kennedy Carter kind of really knocked her over. I mean, it was really aggressive and bad to see because you see it wasn't even in play at that point. It's not like they were actually doing anything where she would have run into her inadvertently. And I get it, it's basketball and sometimes people smash into each other more aggressively than they should. But in this particular case, there's nothing going on. She just full on sideswaps her. I think we have another video of this, Drew. Let's go to the other video if you have it handy, Drew, of this one. Again, I'll give Drew a minute just to pull up the right video there, guys, because we want to make sure that we're using the right one. I think somebody recorded it on a TV screen. Maybe this is the right one. It's kind of like a square, Drew. Need to make sure that you do use the right video right there. But anyway, it's really something to see because, important that you understand just how aggressive this was. I mean, really, really, really aggressive stuff. Again, I'm going to help you. We're going to just make sure that we have exactly the right video so that we can, if you're watching this in live time, thank you so much. A reminder, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button, that you hit the bell, right? The bell is really, really, really important stuff. You need to make sure that you do that, because then you know when I'm here, you know when I'm live. And look, I'm getting this over to Drew in real time. So you got to give me some credit for that. Anyway, so there was this moment there, you see, on the screen, and you see this Candy Carter. She just runs and she shoves into this Caitlin Clark, and it's really bad. And so logically, right, like what should happen? In my estimation, it's a thug move. In my estimation, you suspend this Candy Carter. Like, she's out that game, maybe a few more games. All right, let's be really clear. That cannot be tolerated. That cannot be accepted. But you see, there's a whole class of people out there that somehow think that, you know, maybe that is okay. That is okay. Well, it's not okay. It's absolutely not okay, guys. You cannot do that. You absolutely cannot do that, because it is unacceptable. Unacceptable stuff, unacceptable behavior. You absolutely cannot do that. It is just, yeah, Drew, I wanted you to show the other one. We have another clip, I think, of the shove of the moment, but it's okay. If you can get the other one on, I'm sending it to you in real time. We are like magicians here on this show. Pretty amazing, right? I mean, it's kind of a square video. I'm just sending it to you as we go through here. Again, we'll get this to you because it's just horrendous. Horrendous. So, you know what? The girls should have been suspended, right? And instead, you have this chorus of people that are somehow trying to justify it in some way. They're trying to say that Caitlin Clark deserved it. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Oh, just toughen up. You can manage it. Toughen up. That's Whoopi Goldberg's advice. Give me a break. Let's watch Whoopi.
Let's be realistic, okay? This is basketball, okay? This happens in basketball all the time. Angel Reese got a clothesline the other day. I mean, this is, you know, these are not like, here's the ball. This is get out the way or I'm gonna move you. That's what the game is. So a lot of people, however, are reading this as confrontation. But this is not. They're not playing on the court. They're there to win. Oh. You know, and just because they're women, get over yourselves. Yeah. They're athletes.
They're athletes.
Yeah, whatever. I'm sorry. You know what? They're athletes. Fine, Whoopi. You know what? They are athletes. But there are rules in a game. Okay? There are rules in a game. And you don't just sideswap somebody when the ball's not even in play. Like, that's not, I mean, even the WNBA just upgraded it to a flagrant foul. But suddenly, this is taking on this really bizarre kind of racial overtone, which is frankly really disturbing. Because let me just say, this girl's good, all right? And anytime somebody's really good at a sport, people pay attention. Michael Jordan, you know, if I think about the most sort of publicized basketball player, I don't think he was white. Like, it's not about that, but they want to make it about that because I guess that's all they got, right? They're going to go back to the well over and over and over again, which is truly unfortunate. Here's another lady on The View, if we can call her that, Sunny Houston, whatever, trying to somehow pick sides in this.
That being said, I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. And so part of it is about race, because if you think about the Brittany Griners of the world, you know, why did she have to go to play in Russia?
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay her.
Because they wouldn't pay, not because she was black, but because they didn't believe in the WNBA.
This is part of my point. So now, you know, Caitlin Clark is bringing this money, these sponsorships, we hope, into the league, and other players will benefit from it. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma of against the LGBTQ plus community.
Oh my God. You mean to tell me the only reason anybody's paying attention to this girl is because she's white? Come on. All right. You see what they're doing. Like, they keep going back to this, and it's like, no, you know what? The girl's just good. All right. And she's better than the other players. I get it. She's a rookie, but she's damn good for a rookie. You know, God forbid anybody actually be good. Let's go to Jamal Hill, a former ESPN commentator who, again, is doubling down on this whole race theory, which is absolutely ridiculous. I want to share her comments that she made on Twitter there, referring to Caitlin Clark as the white for Indiana. It's beyond, it's being too comfortable, just totally unacceptable. Here she is actually attacking somebody else. So we have her comments too that she made in the New York Times, because that's what I want to share with people right now. We'll get to that in a second. It's another part of this story. But again, Jamal Hill, speaking in the New York Times, actually just went off on this entire thing. And it's really pretty darn pathetic. Let me see if I can pull this one for you guys right now, because she was speaking with the New York Times and she was making the point again about this being an issue of race. And that is unfortunate. It's wrong. LA Times as well, like, doubled down on this. The LA Times is trying to say this is what it is all about. So they're making something out of nothing, if you would. You see the headline coming to us right now from the LA Times. Caitlin Clark, marketing boom is celebrated, but draws questions of race and equity. Because they think the only reason the sport is getting any attention at all is because of the color of Caitlin Clark's skin. Now, there may be players that believe this as well. There may be. We have Kennedy Carter's first remarks. Originally, she said she would not comment on this. You see, they don't even want to comment on Caitlin Clark because, well, she's not, worthy of their commentary. You had another player, Angela Reese, who'd been tweeting some kind of nasty things and took them down and then wouldn't even show up at the press conference. The WNBA had to fine her because she just didn't want to talk about Caitlin Clark. It's about us, not about her, right? Well, finally, Kennedy Carter decided to say something. I want to share this sound with you now.
I don't have any regrets with anything. I'm going to compete and play 100% hard no matter who it is, like I said, or who we're playing. No, I don't have any regrets.
Let's play it again. Can we play it again, Drew? Let's hear this woman again. It's hard to hear.
I don't have any regrets with anything. I'm going to compete and play 100% hard no matter who it is, like I said, or who we're playing. No, I don't have
No regrets. I don't care that I just totally banged into this young woman who was doing nothing wrong but playing the game. I have no regrets. You know, toughen up. She sounds like Whoopi. She must be taking advice from Whoopi Goldberg. I get it. That's the issue. So Whoopi's saying, own it. You know what? You got to be tough. That's what it is. This is how the game is played. And I'm sorry. It's just frankly pretty darn wrong. All of them. And then to suggest that this is somehow about race, it's really pathetic. I think we have the video. Let's watch this again in real time to just see what went down. Whoa. Like, the ball's not even in place. She just literally went after the woman. Bob Costas joining in on the party. He's one of the mean girls now. Yeah, Bobby. He's part of the club. Joining the mean girls, attacking Caitlin Clark. Let's watch.
To your earlier point, there was an incident recently. Alyssa Thomas, who happens to be African-American, grabbed Angel Reese by the throat and threw her to the floor. Flagrant 2, ejected from the game. The reason why that doesn't spark as much conversation isn't just that Caitlin Clark is a bigger star than Alyssa Thomas. It's because it's a black-on-black incident.
Wow.
And you don't have that dynamic that people can comment on, yes, but also exaggerate and make the entire story sometimes.
And also, no
that
one
is really
cares.
that is between
no
the
one
lines.
cared
what's going
about
on
the
here.
WNBA when women of a certain color were beating up and bruising each other, because it's been happening since the league's inception. We have this star, this person that people love. They want to protect her. So now the new fans and the new analysts and the new people have so much to say. Bob, thank you for saying that and acknowledging that, because you're a legend in this sport. And you are also gracious enough to say, look, I'm not an expert in the WNBA, but what I do know from the history and what I do know, this is why she is being treated this way, and why no one cares about
I've seen it in every sport.
I mean,
a newcomer is tested and to some extent resented.
I mean, what's wrong?
But they're somehow making this about the color of her skin. Does anybody understand how fundamentally wrong that is? You know, Pat McAfee does. He got in trouble, as you saw. Jamal Hill, like, really was angry at him, the former ESPN commentator. Let's go to her tweet. She said, "How dare you say this?" You see, he referred to her as being white and also a derogatory word, which, by the way, he didn't need to add in. But I think he was trying to, like, sort of channel perhaps like what people were thinking, like, how dare this girl who happens to be this come in and take hold of this sport and take all the star power. It's totally, you know, not okay that she's doing this. And so Jamal Hill said, he shouldn't have done this. And there were calls for him to step down, right? Because he was actually defending Caitlin Clark, who said she's okay with it all. He has issued an apology. I'll get to the apology in a second, but you need to understand what he's apologizing for, which frankly is really, well, you know, bad language. And granted, he shouldn't have used the bad language. I don't use any bad language here on this show. I don't believe it. There's other ways to express yourself. But he was getting kind of heated on his show. Let's go to Pat McAfee saying, frankly, what needed to be said. Like, get over it. This girl's awesome.
So I think what we're trying to say is what the WNBA currently has is what we like to describe as a cash cow. There is a superstar. And we're not saying that the players on the court need to act any differently. That's the athletes are going to do what athletes are going to do in any sport. And I think we're all learning that WNBA, that's old school football, baby. That is old,
in other words, they're
that is
tough.
old school football. But I would like the media people that continue to say, this rookie class, this rookie class, this rookie class. Nah, just call it for what it is. There's one white for the Indiana team who is a superstar. And is it because she stayed in Iowa, put an entire state on her back, took a program from nothing to a multiple-year success story? Is it because she would go on to break the entire points records in the history of the NCAA? Not just the women's record by Kelsey Plum, shout out, but also Pistol Pete Maravich's, the dude's record as well. Is there a chance that people just enjoy watching her play basketball because how electrifying she is, what she did, what she stood for, how she went about going, what she went for? Maybe. But instead, we have to hear people say that we only like her because she's white. And she's the only popular because the rest of the rookie class is doing what they're doing. Well, that's a bunch of bullshit. And we think the WNBA, more specifically, their refs need to stop trying to screw her over at every single turn. What you have...
It seems like the refs don't really like her either. Everybody's ganging up on Caitlin Clark. And here's the deal. Guys, she's making your sport. Like, we never talked about the WNBA before. I'd never even seen the WNBA before, okay? Until now. So that actually should be a good thing. But not according to some of these players. Angela Reese, one of the players on the other teams, was tweeting out in her annoyance a few days ago. She took it down about, you know, how we won, but it wasn't because, you know, we were flying on a chartered plane or anything. She wrote, and that's on getting a win in a packed arena, not just because of one player on our chartered flight. So they don't like that they're suddenly on chartered flights? They used to have to fly commercial. Now they get a chartered flight. Kind of good, right? Because people are paying attention to the sports. When you have more spectators, guess what? You have more money coming in. When you have more money, it's better for everyone, even you, Angela, even you, Kennedy. Yeah, it's better for all of you. So actually, she's an addition. This is growing the pie for everyone, but they don't see it that way. And then you get the media doing what the media does, trying to tear everybody apart and make this all about race instead of just pure talent. Poor Pat McAfee had to come out with a big apology. We got his tweet. He actually tried to speak to Caitlin Clark about it. She apparently graciously accepted his apology. If we can go to that, I'll show you what he wrote. He said, I shouldn't have used the term, right, as a descriptor of Caitlin Clark. No matter the context, even if we're talking about race being a reason for some of the stuff happening, I have way too much respect for her and women to put that into the universe. My intentions when saying it were complimentary, just like the entire segment. But a lot of folks are saying that it certainly wasn't at all. That's 100% on me. And for that, I apologize. I have sent an apology to Caitlyn as well. Everything else I said, still all facts. In other words, the girl's awesome. She's killing it. Yeah, you know, they're a little rough around the edges, but they got to get with the program effectively. Like buy into the success that Caitlyn Clark is. And instead, this is amazing. Even the New York Post is trying to pile on. The New York Post, who I'm a little surprised at, trying to say that somehow it's Caitlyn Clark's fault because she was talking smack ahead of this, you know, what do you call that? Flagrant foul? It's a lot more than that. The two moments that may have set off the event. They write about how there was a third straight miss by Indiana, which resulted in both Clark and Carter going for the loose ball. And as Carter and her Sky teammate tried to corral the rebound, Clark reached in with her left hand and used said arm and maybe her elbow to move Carter out of the way. I would only argue that's part of the game, right? That's part of the play. That's not when you're just standing there waiting for the ball, waiting for the game to restart. And then someone's tweeting out an extended look at Caitlyn Clark, the Kennedy Carter incident. There was more to it than just a shoulder check, and Clark was clearly talking to her on the way back up the floor from the prior basket by Indiana. That's what happens in basketball, okay? They talk smack. It doesn't mean you actually physically abuse someone. And that's why they should have suspended this woman. I'm sorry. Total thug move. Not okay, not acceptable, and just pathetic that the entire media industry has to get involved. I'm sorry. It's just wrong. Thank you for the nice comments I'm seeing from all of you guys here in live time. A special shout out to our friends, one of our great sponsors over at Balance in Nature. I take my health very seriously. I take fitness very seriously, and my vitamins very seriously, if you would. And so I'm really thankful for these guys because they send me this stuff every single month. Balanceinnature.com. You can get it too, including a 35% discount if you use my name, $10 off in addition, and free shipping. So I don't think you can beat that deal. I mean, you could beat it if you're me because I get it for free. Sorry. But I love it. I love this stuff. And I know that so many of you, Leslie, for example, who I think is in the chat right now, I know you told me you've been taking it for years. I told you my kid's music teacher called me the other day and said, I've been taking this stuff for years. I love it. And I'm like, wow, you listen to the show. Anyway, balanceinnature.com, 1-800-246-8751, 1-800-246-8751. Go to the website, balanceinnature.com. Read the testimonials. They're terrific. People have had such great success, as I have, with these vitamins. I take my fruits and veggies every day, and you can use discount code TRISH when you go there. I'm also curious, as we are talking here in real time, and I just played you that fantastic long clip, and I think we finally got it there, of the Caitlyn Clark incident. Like, what do you guys think of that? Really, really, what do you think of it? Because I find it pretty stunning, pretty darn appalling. And it just is sort of symptomatic of our time. I think about where we are right now with Biden going down to Morehouse College and telling everyone, you know, you're not going to be able to get ahead because of the color of your skin, which is really kind of an atrocious thing to say, given that they're at a really good school and they have every opportunity ahead of them. And somehow he just wants to go back to the well and just make this all about race. It's extremely, extremely divisive. They say that Trump is divisive. And I'm like, excuse me, have you guys listened to Maxine Waters lately? I mean, any of them that want to keep perpetuating a narrative. And you see, unfortunately, in terms of the basketball stuff, it's feeding into that. So I expect that this story will continue to survive, shall we say, another day indeed. One other thing that we're watching right now, of course, being Hunter Biden in the hot seat. You have Jill Biden there still with him in court today. They had jury selection that began just yesterday, and this is going to be the ongoing saga. Of course, kind of inappropriate that he somehow was about to get off the hook for having had an illegal possession of a weapon that he shouldn't have had when he was under the substance abuse that he was dealing with at the time. Under the influence was the word I was looking for. So in light of all that, one would think that there would be some consequences. Initially, there weren't going to be any. It just so happened that there was one judge one lone judge out there who said, gee, I don't think I can sign off on this because this doesn't make any sense. I've never seen anything like this. How can I promise that nobody's ever going to go after him for any foreign lobbying he may have done, well, not registered as a foreign lobbyist, or for the tax evasion stuff? You know, that was like $1.4 or $1.7 million. This is a lot of money that we're talking about. And so he's in hot water right now. And there's some question about whether or not he would get pardoned by his father. I think we know the answer to that. The PR team over there at the White House, Crackerjack KJP, star that she is, a PR person, is saying, no, it's not going to happen. He would never pardon his son. We'll see. I mean, I love the optics, right, of Jill Biden being there, of the president being with his son in Wilmington, Delaware. They were around biking over the weekend, etc. So really trying to remind everyone just who they are. It's incredible when you look at how the family has benefited from Joe Biden's position. I say to myself, like, why would anybody go into politics? It's awful. What an awful, terrible business. And I think the Biden family, in my estimation anyway, judging from what I have seen and what may continually come out, has kind of helped lay that out, right? They've sort of put that front and center because apparently there's a little more there than you would think. And the lobbying business tends to be quite lucrative. If you're wondering about this market right now, about the craziness that we are looking at, because there has been, in fairness, a little bit of turbulence going on, although the market's back up today, which is good news. You've got the market, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, slightly higher, as well as the S&P. A lot of interesting things going on. I encourage you to go actually subscribe to my other channel, the financial channel, at 76 Research. Go subscribe to that. We're going to have a new show coming out tomorrow. A lot of different components of what we want to talk about, including this AI boom, NVIDIA, right, being something you really, really need to watch. We have model portfolios for you over at 76 Research. Go to the website, check it out. Look at the 10 to 15 stocks in each of those portfolios that are set up for you so that you can really take ownership of your future and your investing. So I encourage you guys to do that. I do want to just quickly check in with all of you right now as we look at some of the comments, because again, this is all happening in real time. And, you know, it's good to see Ian back here, Mike, Leslie as well. You know, Hunter's trial, she writes, is an act in futility. I get it, right? Because we don't really think that anything is going to come of this. And this is part of the problem, right? We feel like there's a lot of talk and there's not a whole lot of action. This is somehow where the Democrats are getting the upper hand because they're getting the action. They've actually succeeded. They got 34 counts, guilty counts, right? Just go to a local trial in New York City and look what happens. Ian, again, joining us, Don, encouraging everybody to like, because we are looking at right now 996 likes on this. So do your part, like the program, hit the bell, subscribe to the channel, and it's good to see you. Like I said, great to see all you here. So many familiar faces. Again, Michael Donnell as well. Welcome back. Dave Whalen, David Lorenzo. Thank you. Balance of nature apparently works for me, David Lorenzo says. It does. It does. Again, vitamins are a good thing. I will see you back here live tomorrow. We got much more news to cover. In the meantime, let me know what you think on the Caitlin Clark situation. Am I right or am I right? I mean, that was a thug move, right? All right. I'll see you tomorrow.